Well, very good morning, everyone. It's George Bayruthi here from FS Securities, giving you the market report for Monday morning, 3rd of April 2023. First of all, go and see what happened on Saturday morning when we woke up. We found the Dow Jones, that's the index that takes the top 30 stocks in New York, was up 1.3% or 415 points. The S&P 500 was up 1.4% or 58 points, and the Nasdaq Technology Index was up 1.7% to 208 points. Tesla was up 6.2% or $12, got up to $207.46 US. Apple was also up 1.6% or $2.54. BHP and RIA in New York were both up slightly less than 1%, as you can see here, 0.8 and 0.7% respectively. In Europe, the StoXX 50 index, which comprises most major European markets, which includes the FTSE in London, the CAC in France, and the DAX in Germany, as you can see here, the index, the StoXX index, was up 0.7%. On the back of the FTSE up 0.1%, the CAC in France up 0.8%, and the DAX in Germany up 0.7%. The futures indicate this morning that most likely the market will open higher. It could be 94 points or it could be 60 points, depends on what time you look at the futures. But on Friday, the ASX 200, our market gauge, which takes the top 200 stocks, was up 0.8% or 55 points higher. Gold down $11 on the weekend, down to $1,969.70 US per ounce. Silver was actually up 1% to $24.23 US per ounce. Brent oil and West Texas crude oil were both up by at least 1.6%, as you can see here on the right hand side. Iron ore price was trading at $126.01 US per ton. The Australian dollars were trading at 66.9 US cents, down 0.3%. The 10-year yield in America was down 2.2%, interestingly, and our 10-year yield in Australia was down 2.1%, as you can see on the right-hand side. Now you can see the relative difference between the American 10-year yield and our Australian 10-year yield, which of course all of these 10-year yields affect housing loans. You can see that we are nearly 0.23% below, 0.23% below the American 10-year yield. Bitcoin this morning was 28,000 US, slightly below what we saw on Saturday. And you find here that in Australian dollars, it's down to $41,000 Australian, which was 41.9 or 42.5 the previous few days. Slightly down this morning. Remember, the highest level in Australian dollars was 88,900, going down to the lowest level of 23,700. That's a bit of a few months ago, several months ago. In US dollars, the highest level was 66,800 and the lowest level was 15,600. So we're almost doubling the lowest levels where we were probably about 6 months ago. All right, we carry on with our report. We see here the advances and declines. On Friday, 43% of all the stocks were up, and 19.6% of all the stocks were down. So we had a good day on Friday, and you put the 5 days together, we find that the advances exceeded the decline by quite a lot of margin. And that's actually, if you look at the number of weeks prior to last 5 days, all of these bars represent 5 days collective. And you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8, that's nearly 40 days, the declines exceeded advances. And for the first time, the last 5 days, we've seen the market going up. Perhaps the crisis of the banks may have receded, and inflation also may have receded as well, which indicate that the interest rate may have actually reached the top. Anyway, time will tell. Now, what we've got here is that we've got, for the last 2, 4, 6 days, the advances exceeded the declines, as you can see here. So we probably see that the market is now moving forward. However, like you see here, this was actually a declining day. So the volume is still not as high as we've seen it several weeks ago. So let's keep an eye on the volume and the advances versus declines. Okay, we carry on. Let's go to see our trading portfolio. The Australian portfolios, we've got 4 portfolios: the aggressive, the conservative, the volume, and the momentum. And as I indicated to you last week, we've had a very good week for all our portfolios. The market went up by 3.3% over the full week. Now, we've done much better in the conservative portfolio, which was up 4.3%, and the aggressive portfolio was up 3.6%. And the other 2 portfolios, we are really perhaps underperformed the market. If you look at the 2 weeks, you find that the momentum portfolio was better over the market over 2 weeks, and the other 3 portfolios have actually been underperforming the market. But if you look at over the last 4 weeks, the overall market was down 1.6%, and with the exception of the volume portfolio. The volume portfolio, by the way, is based on what we look at the market and we see the previous volume, that is the last trading day volume, in comparison the last 50-day volume average, the moving average over 50 days. And if the last volume exceeds the moving average, then we start to look at this particular stock, provided that the fair value is also higher than the last price. Okay, that is actually the base of the portfolios. But anyway, you can see here that last week we had the first week of positive results. You can see the week before and the week before and the week before, we have more red than blue. So the market this morning is most likely is expected to go higher. So let's hope that this week will continue to be on the bullish side. Now let's see what we are trading inside 16.4%. That is our conservative portfolio. It's coming from the back of the mineral resources, giving us nearly 40% return. And then we've got Whitehaven Coal, giving us 32% return, and BHP giving us 23% return as well. Centre, which is the old Westfield, 18.4% return. Now the other portfolio, the other 3, unfortunately, they are negative so far, but we're moving at the moment forward in terms of what happened last week, and hopefully this week will actually turn to be very positive as well, as I said that before. All right, now moving on, let's look at the American market. The American market, we had a very beautiful day, very beautiful week. The market over 1 week for the S&P 500 was up nearly 5%, and so is the Nasdaq. But our portfolio was up nearly 9%. If you look at when we started to trade, this financial year. Remember, we closed all our positions before the end of June last year, and we were sitting on nearly $250,000 in capital, and we started to trade on the 7th of July. Since the 7th of July, the S&P 500 is up 5.3% and the Nasdaq is up 5.2%. Well, overall, our market since the 7th of July is up 9.4%. So we really outperformed the market. What inside these trades? We look here and we see that the best return, Netflix is giving us 51% return, and second best is Shopify, that is based on buying, retailing. Microsoft is giving us also 22%, 23% return. However, Tesla is lagging behind. So you can see we're down 15% on Tesla. Alibaba giving us 22.7% return. All right, we carry on. All right, let's now look at volume based on weekly. These are the based on the volume. We look at the volume. So for instance here, Origin Energy. By the way, it's been taken over. That's the reason why. The price went up by nearly 5% from $7.92 to $8.29. That's nearly 5%. And the volume here, the average volume over 50 weeks is 33 million. Well, last week we had 127 million, 128 million. Well, obviously it's been taken over. However, look, the fair value, according to the Origin, I don't know why people are buying at a very higher price, because the fair value is $6.40. Going down this line, we find that Sonic Healthcare, the volume on last week was 32% above the average volume. Over last week, this particular stock went up by 3.2% and went up to $37.90 from $37.46. However, the fair value is only 8% above the last price. So it's not really as exciting as the one below, Bramble. Bramble, the volume over last week was 11% higher above the average. The market went up by 0.8% over last week. However, the target or the fair value is $15.61. We have 16% extra fair value above the last price. In the mid cap, we find that nothing exciting here. We've got Sigma Healthcare only, 70 cents, went up by 13%. Hey, this is actually a very interesting stock to look at. The volume was 26.7 million versus 9 million average over 50 weeks. Nearly 3%, 3 times the average volume. And we've got 32% extra value for Sigma Healthcare. So we're going to look at this company and review the value, look at the announcement to see which director is buying more shares, and we get more understanding why the price went up by nearly 13% over last week. They may, because it's a healthcare, it's very possible that they've got some announcement that they've made last week. All right, we keep going. And the most active weekly, here we've got Liontown, 73%, going from $2. Sorry, there must have been from $1.49, that's 5 days ago, that's remember this weekly, went from 149 to 258, but obviously we missed the boat because on Thursday it was up to $2.59, and on Friday it dropped 1 cent, but over the week. But look at the fair value. The fair value is $2.26, which is 87% of the price, which is not a really good one. So the main thing is we look at what shares have moved higher, like United Malt Group. Again, the fair value is $4.32 and $4.75 the last price. A week ago was $3.44. EML, and we have a trade on EML, over the last week went up by 34%. And look, the fair value is $1.74 versus 55. Well, I'm glad we are trading this company. Syra went up by 25%, and the fair value is $1.93, not a great deal. Bravura, again, 2 weeks in a row the price was up from 33 cents to 40 cents, and the fair value is $2.69. Again, this is a company that we may now have a good look at. All right, well, let's, if you want a copy of all this presentation and time for you to actually sit down and absorb all this information, I am aware that there is a lot of information here. It may take time to absorb every line. But if you want a copy of this whole presentation, all you have to do is call us. For local people in Australia is 0411 259526. And for overseas people, 6161 is the country code. You don't need the 0. So it's 61 411 259526. As I mentioned, you don't need the 0 for overseas people. Or you can send me an email at george@fssecurities. FS stands for full service. george@fssecurities, plural, securities.com.au. All right, well, happy trading. Be wise, be careful, be sensible. And we talk to you again tomorrow and the following day and again next week.